Hey book friends, welcome back to the channel. And so I said I was going to do more book hauls as I collect books this year. And that way I won't have like 6 months worth of books to share with you. But I realized I also have been collecting a lot of books at the beginning of the year because I had some Christmas money. And I have a couple different book lists that I'm working off of that I really want to kind of investigate my taste in books, and so I have a lot to share already. So I thought I better make a quick book haul for you guys. And so this one is heavy in the like Agatha Christie as well as fantasy, and then like a hodgepodge of a few other things. So let's hop in. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to the channel if you are new here. Welcome back if you've been coming for a while. I always love when you guys stop in and comment on the video, comment on the books, all the things. I just love the engagement. So let's start in on a book haul, guys. This is so much fun. So where to start? I think I will start with Agatha Christie because I picked up 3 books this past month. And the first one is this one, which I've already read and I loved. So this is Death on the Nile. It is a Poirot novel, so he is one of her main detectives. It is Poirot or Miss Marple, and I picked up a Miss Marple one as well, so I will share that with you. So I am really enjoying these. They are just very straightforward books, but there is a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of different characters. This book in particular is about a boat on the Nile where there's a murder, and then the detective has to solve the murder based on the limited amount of people that are on the boat. It was really fun. I really liked it. I have 2 other Agatha Christie's. This is the first, Hercule Poirot, I think is how you say the detective's name. This is the first. I mean, there is a long list of books that he is the main detective. I kind of wanted to read the first just to get a feel for his character, although I read The Death on the Nile and I really liked it, even though it was like number 17. So this one is about a man who comes back from World War I, the Great War, and he is recuperating at some like big estate. I think it's called the Styles. And then there's a murder. And at this book, since it's the first one for the detective, and it said that this man knew of a former detective, a Belgian refugee who has grown bored of retirement. And so enter Poirot. So I'm excited to kind of dive into his first book to see how his characters kind of developed. And then the other set of detective books that she wrote are the Miss Marple books. And so this first one's The Murder at the Vicarage. In this one, it sounds like there is a colonel who nobody likes in the town, and it sounds like there's also a clergyman who did not like the colonel, and then the colonel's found dead at the church, I believe, or something like that. Sounds really good. And so they bring in Miss Marple and she solves the case. So those were the first 2 of those detectives, and I'm really excited to kind of feel out their character and see how I like those books. And I've also heard a lot of the early Agatha Christie are some of her best works, so I'm excited to get to those. So next I picked up a number of middle grade fantasy books. And I've just been wanting to see if I like middle grade fantasy, and I've read a number of these, and I've talked about them on the channel already, so I will just briefly mention them. Like Amari and the Night Brothers, I've talked a lot about. I've really liked it. It's about this girl whose brother went missing, and then she was looking for him, and she found a suitcase in his closet that brought her into the world of the Academy of Supernatural Affairs. So it's definitely a magic school setting for a book, and it's just great. I really, really enjoyed it. And the next one I have already read out of that stack is the Artemis Fowl. So this is the first in the Artemis Fowl story, and it's just cute. Artemis is this like 12-year-old evil genius, if you will, but I feel like that's kind of the fun part of his character is he is kind of plotting lots of things, but he's also still a kid. And in this book, he's interested in like fairy gold, and so the world of the fairies, and he finds a way to capture one, and it goes from there, and it's just highly entertaining. It's definitely a middle grade book, and I'm excited to share it with my kids. And the next book I'm planning to read for middle grade March. I'm really excited, so I'm holding on to this one for next month, but it is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. And this is about a town that borders the woods, and the woods has like this witch in it that the town is scared of. So every year there's a date when they kind of sacrifice the youngest child. They like leave a baby in the woods, and the witch finds the baby every year and is wondering why there's always a baby in the woods. So she takes the baby through the woods to the next town to some nice people who will raise the baby, sort of idea. But then there's this one time when a girl is left in the woods, and the witch, instead of giving her, I think, starlight, she gives her moonlight. And I think the starlight is supposed to like sustain her or something, but the moonlight gives her magic. That's about all I know. And then it goes from there. So I'm excited to pick that up for middle grade March. So I'm doing that one. And then I also am starting this series. So my 12-year-old niece, shout out to her if she ever watches these videos, she loves this series. And I have started to read it already, and I can see why. It's very cute. It's very fun. It also has a magic school element, but it's this girl named Sophie who is a telepath, and she can hear other people's thoughts, and she's always been like that, and she thought she was just different until she meets this boy named Fitz, and she realizes that she belongs somewhere else. She belongs kind of in his world, and I won't give too much away, but she is taken there and the story unfolds from there, and it's been really fun so far. I've been really enjoying it. But those are some middle grade fantasies. So I am really exploring the fantasy genre, especially at the beginning of this year. I have some other things I'm planning on exploring, but as for where some of my money went in this book haul, it has been for fantasy. But as for adult fantasy, I have a number of books I picked up for that as well. I made a video where I'm trying to read the first in the series of a number of fantasy novels, fantasy series. I think all of them are adult, so they're not necessarily the middle grade ones that I mentioned. Those are just more for fun. But I want to start with this one. So I follow a number of fantasy booktubers, and this has been a very popular series over the last year or so. And the first book in this series, I think it's the Green Bone series. It is called Jade City by Fonda Lee. And this just sounds really interesting. So it sounds like there's the city. So this is definitely an urban fantasy where it's focused more in the city. It's not really focused on building this whole big world and universe. I think it's more targeted, from what I understand, into this city. And there is magic found in jade, in the stone of jade. And for thousands of years or something like that, there have been people who can harness the jade and use its magic, and they were special or elite in the society. They were called the Green Bone Warriors. But now it sounds like there's like a way for other people, like normal people, to harness the magic of jade. And so it's like a whole new generation of people in the city are now able to use jade, and so it's just really shaking up the politics of this location. I don't really know more than that. I feel like I'm very bad at explaining fantasy books, but I just need to get into it to see if I like it. Okay, some other ones I picked up. So I also picked up the next in the Mistborn series. So I read Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series, starting with The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and then The Hero of Ages. So I read that last year, and I loved it. I loved it. It was just really, really entertaining. I felt like that was an excellent entrance for me into fantasy, especially kind of more higher fantasy, more complex fantasy. So I really enjoyed that. But then there is this like second era of Mistborn. So there's another set of books, another trilogy of books that follows the same magic system, but it is like 300 years in the future or 1,000 years in the future, something like that. So the first book in that series is called The Alloy of Law, and it is a much smaller book than some of those other books. So I am excited to read another Brandon Sanderson, and I think this won't take me very long at all. So the setting is sort of a Western from what I understand, which is really interesting because the first trilogy was definitely more like medieval, caste system, things like that. So this does not have the original characters. I think the original characters are more like of legend in this book. So you get a new cast of characters, but they still have the same magic system, which is allomancy, which is the ability to ingest metals, and they give you powers. And if you're able to ingest one metal, you're a misting, and if you're able to ingest them all, you're a mistborn. And so the story goes from there. I actually have no idea what the second trilogy is about, but I loved the first one, so I'm excited to pick these up. So I got just the first one in that series. Okay, the next one is also all over the booktube fantasy world, and that is Robin Hobb. So I picked up Assassin's Apprentice. It is about this boy named Fitz. And so this book is a little bit of a coming of age. So it's the first in a series. So he's younger. I think at the beginning he might be 6 years old. And then at the end of this book he might be like 16 or something like that. So he's kind of coming into his own in this book. But it's the first in a trilogy that follows his character. So it's definitely not YA or middle grade, but his character's younger in this book. So Fitz is a boy who is the bastard son of the king. So he has royalty in him, but he's not like official. But I think, if I understand it right, the royalty are really important in this world, and I think that's also where maybe the magic comes through, is the royal line. And so the fact that he is of royal blood matters. But he gets brought back and dropped off at the castle by like his family and is told that they don't want him and the king can have him since he's the bastard of the king. but the king doesn't really want him, and he tosses him to, like, I think the stable master to raise. And I think that is what a lot of this book is a stable master raising Fitz, and also the king deciding to use Fitz as the royal assassin, since he has magic, but yet he's a little bit more dispensable. I'm honestly not sure, but it sounds so fun, and I've heard just great things about this whole first trilogy, because it's the first of, I think, 5 trilogies, so 15 books or something like that in this world. And so it sounds really good, and I'm excited to, like, enter in to see if I like that, because I really like long series. I like where you can really get invested in the characters, which is what kind of inspired that initial video of, like, I really want to see if I like these books. And so the last book on the fantasy pile is this one. So this is Malice by John Gwynne, and this is a big fantasy book. It is the first book in, what's it called? The Faithful and the Fallen series. So it sounds like it's about this world where there was once this kind of big epic battle, but they're in peacetime, and it sounds like it's kind of coming back, if you will. So in this book, it sounds like you meet a lot of the characters that are involved in fighting this upcoming thing. So it sounds like there's a number of different warriors. It sounds like there's also a lot of politics and, like, things going on with the king. I'd say this is the one that is a little bit most out of my comfort zone, because it sounds like just a big world with big battles and warriors and things like that. And I'm just not sure if that's my forte in fantasy, but that's the question I'm trying to answer with these kinds of books and things like that. So I bought that. So that's also on my haul pile. And the last book I did pick up was more for a different book list, which I'm sorry if I keep talking about these, but I put together a list of my favorite booktubers favorites from 2021, and a number of the books I already owned or I could get from the library, but I couldn't get this one, so I just decided to pick it up. And so that book is Someone I Used to Know by Paige Toon, and this was recommended by Emily over at Novelle Novels. I'm hoping to get to this book this month. It is a contemporary book, which I don't read a ton of contemporary. It sounds like it's about this kind of foster brother-sister relationship during the teenage years. Like, he gets brought into the family as a teenager, and she has to deal with having a foster brother. And then it sounds like they have another friend that joins their, like, friend triangle, that they grow up together and they have meaningful relationships, and then they scatter, and then they come back together for something. And I'm actually not sure what brings them back together, but it sounds really good. I've heard good things about this author. I've heard she just writes heartwarming, heartbreaking sort of books. And so I feel like when I'm in the mood for that, I'm excited to pick this book up. So this is the last book I picked up in my book haul. It's a bit of a random book haul, I realize. It's really targeted to what I'm interested in this year. So that's good. It's not just a bunch of books that'll sit on my shelves. I have intention of reading all of these this year, I think. So yeah, that is my latest collection of books I have picked up. I am proud of myself for making a book haul video that doesn't have like 50 books and 6 months worth of books. So comment down below if you are interested in any of these books. I realize there's no historical fiction in my pile, which is so crazy because that's usually what a lot of my book hauls consist of. But that's okay. I have a lot of good ones on my shelves that I have all intention of reading. So that is what I have for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to. Otherwise, I will see you in the next book video. All right, guys, take care.